Bill Jackson, 46, 5 feet 11 inches, and 175 lbs, is my name at a large beer brewing company in Fort Worth, Texas. I oversee the plant. My spouse Janice goes by Jan. She is 46, weighs 130 lbs and has a great figure. She's employed by a major Fort Worth advertising agency in design and graphics. Janice and I have been married for 25 years. We were kids together and lived on the same block since the 4th grade. We were best friends through middle school and were a couple through high school. Jan was even my date at the prom, which is when we became really close. We gave each other our virginity that night. Jan and I went to the University of Texas together for 3 years. We shared a room for the last 2 years. We lived together in a bedroom apartment. Our daughter, Judy, is 21 and going to the University of Oklahoma. Judy is engaged to Brad Johnson, a nice young man from Oklahoma City. Brad is from oil money. His dad is a bigwig in a major oil company in Norman, Oklahoma. Brad is 26, so he's a little more mature and head over heels in love with our daughter. We're happy for both of them. My future son-in-law is studying business law, while Judy was taking any class they put her in, no major, just going to school. Jan makes about $55,500 per year at her job, and as a manager for the High Life Brewing Company. I brought home over $300,000, so we were financially sound about 15 years ago. We found a house on Lake Arlington that was in foreclosure and made an offer on it for $350,000. We paid $100,000 in cash and bought it, fixed it up, and now it's valued at $3 million now. I should probably get back to the night that got my skin crawling and my mind wandering. Jan let me know 3 days ago that her company was having a party this coming Saturday night. After telling me about it, she said, "Bill, I know you don't like going to these things, and you would probably be too tired. So you don't have to go if you don't want to." Jan said she was off the next few days and would love to go for 3 days. Jan kept on telling me I didn't have to attend, but I kept saying I'm excited about going and meeting her. When we arrived at the main room of the party, my wife was wearing a stunning but form-fitting black dress that accentuated her long blonde hair and blue eyes. Jan was approaching a man in his 50s when I saw her make a stop motion with her hand, then turn to face me and give me a cheek kiss. This was the first of my bad feelings that night. Jan and I had a few drinks, but I was going to stay sober because I was driving and wanted to be aware of everything going on tonight. I'd never had any suspicions of my wife cheating before, and didn't think she was tonight. All my bad feelings came from this guy, who I later found out was called Jack Taylor. Jack Taylor was one of the senior advertising sales reps for my wife's company. Jan and I danced several dances and caught each other a few times. I looked over at Jack and he was staring back at us after sitting down from one dance session. He came over and asked Jan if she would like to dance. He never looked at me or even asked if he could dance with her. He asked her directly. Jan saw how red my face was getting and my fist was balled up, so she politely declined and told him all her dances were for her husband. I could tell he was annoyed. He seemed annoyed as he walked away and started dancing with another woman. Jan was ready for another drink, so I went to the bar to get her one on my way back. I saw Jack in front of Jan, asking her something. She was looking at him with sad eyes and shaking her head. I saw the movement of her lips, and I could read them. She said, "Sorry, baby. I'm pretty good at reading lips. Here in our plant, it is very noisy." In some parts we wear hearing sections, so I know what she said the rest of the night. I watched and didn't drink anything else. I wanted to have control of all my senses. I paid a lot of attention to everyone around us. They were all watching me, watching Jan, and yes, watching Jack. I knew then something was going on, but what and how long had it been going on? I'm not very good about keeping things inside, so I had to ask Jan about it. On the way home, I asked Jan about Jack. "Jan, who is this Jack guy? It seems like you two have a connection. Are you cheating on me?" "Jack is just someone I work with." "Honey, I can't believe you would ever think I would cheat on you. I love you more than anything." I didn't say anything else that night. Jan knew me very well. If I caught her cheating, there would be hell to pay. When we were growing up, she was aware of how she always got her own back and was always on my side, supporting me when I needed her. Once in high school, a guy gave me a wedgie. I caught him later after school and beat the crap out of him, took his pants off and left him there, taking his pants with me. Jan backed me up at school, telling them I was with her and couldn't have done it. Once at the University of Texas, one of the football players was trying to force Jan kissed him, and I kicked his knees out from under him, which caused him to miss a few games. The coaches were wanting me kicked out until Jan told them she was going to the police and press with attempted rape charges. They let it go really fast, so Jan knows I wouldn't just sit there and be cuckolded. She should have said that earlier. John makes more than 50 grand, and I make more than 300 grand. Plus John has over 125. John has 401k, and I have 1 million in mine. I decided I needed to know for sure. I hired a private detective we'd used before at the brewery on a few workers' comp cases. I had audio, video, and photos I needed. A few weeks later, we were sitting at our dining room table one morning drinking coffee. I asked Jan, "So you'd never cheat on me, right?" "No," she said. "I'd never do that." "Why did you ask me that?" I took the large envelope and started throwing pictures down on the table, one at a time. In this picture, you're kissing Jack outside Motel 6. In this one, you're going inside the door. In this one, his car is parked in front of our house. In this one, he's having you, Bill. It doesn't mean anything. I don't love him. It's just physical without emotion. It means a lot to me, John. Is he better than me? Is he bigger than me? How long has this been going on? And why? Well, he's not bigger, and he's not even as good as Bill. I can't say he's better. It's just different. We've been doing it for over a year. I've been seeing Bill at work for over a year now. We don't call it a boyfriend, though. I'm his office wife, and quite a few people at work are doing the same. You're not going to leave, are you, Bill? Absolutely not. I'm not leaving you. I've packed most of your clothes and personal belongings in your BMW. I want you out of my house now. I grabbed Jan by her arm and led her to her car. Where will I go, Bill? I don't care. Just go live with your office husband. I can't go to him. Jack is married with 3 kids. I already knew that. It was in the PI's report. His name, wife's name, and kids' names. I know your name, your kids' names, and your address, but I didn't tell Jan that I had that info. Jan, I don't care where you go. Go back to Motel 6 and let your office husband know, but get the hell away from here and stay away. Are you just going to throw away 25 years of a good marriage? January, it was less than 24 years of a good marriage, and over 1 year of a cheating marriage. You're the one that threw it away. Jan got in her car and drove away. 3 hours later, the phone rings. It's my daughter. Hello, Judy. How are the wedding plans going? They were doing all the planning, but I was covering the expenses and she was having a big wedding. It is my only daughter and I do love her very much. Then the conversation went downhill. Dad, Mom says you kicked her out of the house. Why would you do something like that? I'm not going to get involved in that either. So, are you doing that to Brad? That's none of your business. Brad and I aren't married yet, so what I do is not his concern. Who else does this kind of thing that I know? Aunt Betty does. So, my family, just get over it and let my mom. Dad, I've met Jack. He's a great guy. My mom wants him involved in the wedding, and so do I. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are these women stupid? Did they fry their brains on drugs or something? Well, Judy, if you want him in your wedding, he can walk you down the aisle. If he's there, I won't be. I hung up on her. My phone rang several times throughout the night, but I refused to answer it. 2 days later, Jan showed up at the house with a piece of paper. It was a court order. Her office husband had a great lawyer, and she was granted a temporary order to be let back into the house until everything was resolved. She also wanted to talk about her affair. The stupid witch felt like it wasn't affecting our marriage. She was affectionate to me when I asked for it. She'll continue to treat me this way, and she has no intention of stopping her affair with Jack. I'm not prepared to accept a cheating woman as a wife. As for being affectionate with you, I'll never touch you again. You can have the master bedroom since that's where you slept with him. I've been sleeping in one of the spare rooms since I found out how big a cheater my wife was. Bill, I'm not that. Jan, I don't care what you say, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm filing for divorce this week and getting rid of you. Bill, I don't want a divorce, and besides, Jack and I have talked to his lawyer. If you divorce me, I get the house, and I'd get half of all our assets and you make more than I do, so I'd get a big chunk of your pay for alimony. My dear husband, you might as well sit back and enjoy the ride. As Jack says, I got up and went into my bedroom about midnight. Jan knocked on my door crying, saying she was sorry and she wanted it to work out for us, but she wanted Jack too. The next morning, I went to see one of our company lawyers, basically said it would go as Jan had said. She'd get the house and half of everything. Judy was out of the house, so there'd be no child support. She'd get at least $125K a year in alimony. Bill said I'd be screwed if I divorced her. Sorry, my friend. The next few days were calmer. We never spoke to each other, but on the third day, Jan asked me, "Are you still willing to pursue a divorce? My lawyer is currently evaluating the situation." "I'll take everything you have, Bill." I didn't say anything else. I just drank my high life for about an hour. Jan had been talking on the phone in the dining room, and she brought me the phone. "Hello, Bill, this is Jack." "Hey, man. I know you were upset. But you just need to go along with it, wimp boy. We'll take everything and make your life miserable if you don't. You don't know who you're messing with. You can have the witch. I don't want her anymore. She's damaged goods, so go screw yourself and your witch." Then I slammed the phone down. I looked at Jan and couldn't believe how stupid she and the idiot were. I'd caught them by. I hired a private detective to keep an eye on them. I had video and audio plus pictures. If they were so smart, they'd know the conversations in this house and on this phone were still being recorded. The next week, Jan met with her office husband 4 times. It was at Motel 6, not here. I did tell her that if she slept with him here again, I'd kill them. I think she finally believed me when I told her that the brewery I worked for had been purchased last year by a larger brewery from Colorado Rock Mountain. We were running both products out of our plant here in Fort Worth. I was the manager of my product and James was the manager of the other product. James was the plant manager from Colorado. He was much younger and James was a very bright person and I liked him a lot. He'd been through a divorce before he came here, so he knew what I was going through. Our company had been wanting to downsize and have just one manager. The good thing on my side was that we are unionized. They wanted the younger guy and James was from the purchasing company. They'd been trying to buy me out. The latest offer was $500,000. I invested the remaining £500 in stocks, which was a good move given the current economic climate. James and I often went to a local strip club close to the plant. James was divorced and had no family nearby, so he often came here on his own. That's when everything came to me. I told him my life was getting better. I said, "Bill, I know what you're going through. That woman I was married to took everything I had. I wish I had just sold everything or given it away and just run off and never. I got a divorce, James. My friend, you are the smartest man I know." I downed my beer and shook his hand. "Thank you, my friend." Then I walked out of the door and drove home. Luckily, Jan wasn't home. I guess she was out getting her office hubby tonight. Jan didn't come home all night. I realized how little I missed her. At one time, I loved Jan more than anything in this world. Now, I hated her. My plan was going into effect soon. Today was Sunday, and I was at home watching football when my daughter called. "Dad, are you over your bad mood?" "I'm calling because my mom wanted me to talk to you about the wedding." "What's up, daughter?" "My mom and I think Jack should be in the wedding too. Maybe he could walk up the aisle behind you and me, then sit when he gets to Mom." "Is that what you want, Judy?" "Yes, Daddy. I think so. I know Mom does. You're my father and Mom's husband, but Jack is her office husband, so we think he should be in the wedding." "What's your idea, Judy? Let your office dad walk you down the aisle because I won't be there. I'll call Brad and give him my apologies." "Dad, don't be silly. Brad doesn't like this either, but he'll get over it on our wedding night." "Judy, I wish you a good life. Bye." "What does that mean?" "Dad, I never answered her. I just hung up and cried. Jan came home on Sunday night and asked, 'Did you miss me, honey?' Hell, I will never miss you. Go somewhere." Jan ran off to her room crying. Monday morning, I was in the corporate office at 8000A. On Monday morning, I took the buyout, $500,000, and put it into an offshore account. I also put 1 year's salary and our house and car into it. So the next stop was the bank. I had papers drawn up to borrow money on our house and Jan's BMW. The house was worth $2 million. I borrowed $2 million easily as the value of the property was $3 million. I got $35,000 for Jan's car, which was worth $45,000. I just wanted to give her a little debt. I had to get her to sign the papers, which was going to be tricky. I went back to my job. I had to finish the next 2 weeks for an easy transition for James. I didn't mind that he was a fantastic person that afternoon. I called the wedding planner and canceled my cards so they wouldn't pay the bills coming in. I told her I would no longer be responsible for the wedding cost. Who will pay for the wedding? Mr. Jackson, tell Judy to ask her new dad Jack for the money at my office. I'd drawn up some fake insurance policy applications for $1 million of life insurance that evening. I called Jan and she was surprised that I'd called her. Jan, if you're not going to be with Jack tonight, can we have a nice dinner? That would be great. I'm so happy you're getting over this. Where do you want to go? The Italian Inn. Downtown. Under the lights. Is that okay? That sounds so romantic. Darling, maybe you'll get lucky tonight. Bill, I hope I get luckier than you tonight. Jam, we had dinner and during dinner Jan tried to kiss me. I told her I'd get back to her later. I told her about the insurance policy for a cool $1 million. I lied and said the company wanted me to take it out and she'd be the beneficiary. Isn't your sister Betty a notary? Yes, Bill, she is. We have to sign them in front of a notary. Let's go over to her house and sign them tonight, then we can celebrate. Okay, Bill, let's go. I paid the dinner tab. Then we went to her sister's house and she signed and initialed all the pages. She was really happy we were together, and with the 6 glasses of wine she was drinking, she never looked like she was going to stop. I don't know what she was signing, but it was something important. The next day, I rushed the papers to the mortgage company and the bank. The bank gave me the $35,000 instantly, but the $2 million would take at least a week. I was having it moved to the account offshore. 1 week later, I was finished at the brewery. I stopped off at the Ford dealer and traded my truck in on a new F-350 Ford truck. I paid cash, of course. My next stop was the bank. I closed all our credit cards, emptied all our savings, took all the money from our checking accounts out, but only $1,000. I also had a friend move all my offshore money to different accounts to hide any trace or records. The next 2 items on my agenda were harder for me. I hated the fact that innocent people were going to get hurt. I met with my future son-in-law to discuss the situation. I told him what was going on, how I'd cut off the money, and how I thought my daughter was going to fool him around. Then I gave him the audio of my conversations with Judy. Brad was devastated. My next stop was the residence of one Jack Taylor. A beautiful lady about 50 answered the door. It made me wonder how a man could cheat on someone as classy as this lady. Earlier, I gave Miss Taylor the videos, pictures, and audio. She was crying, but before I left, she told me this wasn't his first time, but it would be his last time with her. It seems she is one of the major shareholders of the Beckham advertising agency. Hopefully that won't affect a couple of people's jobs that I know. How will Jan make her $700 a month car payment, or her $112? I'm on my way to the RV dealership now. They should have my 36 trillions long 5th-wheel travel trailer ready. My plan is going well. I paid cash for the truck and the RV. I had them put in my cousin's name. I have only 3 credit cards also in his name. I plan on heading out to Florida for a few years and laying low. Maybe I will get my wife and I are getting divorced. I hope she does this soon, as I have a no-compete clause in my contract which means I can't work for another brewery for a year. The king of breweries is not far from where I will be staying in the RV in Florida. A lot has changed since Jack divorced his wife. He was right about the woman getting everything. She got the house and 60% of everything, plus 60. Jack lost his job, but he did get a good one at one of the last Blockbuster video stores that was still open. He's a tape rewinder and DVD cleaner, and he has a nice 1-room apartment above the local adult store. Jan had trouble paying for her car and house. She was under the impression that we always paid cash. She lost both, and because of her bad credit, she is unable to rent an apartment where it's worth living. She always seemed to have cash to pay for everything. In fact, she lost both her cars and her house because of her bad credit rating. She was unable to rent an apartment that was worth living in. Jan also lost her job, but she was able to find another one as a waitress at Denny's on the interstate. She filed for an abandonment because she needed the divorce to begin receiving welfare benefits. However, she did not receive anything from me as she had. It seems they couldn't find me, so she quickly got a clean divorce. My daughter, who I love, didn't get married. Brad asked her about the audio tapes, And she said she didn't think it was that bad if the wife got her some on the side. It's the same old story she told me. Brad called off the wedding. Judy lost her millionaire family and now lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. She's living in a bedroom apartment on the wrong side of town, sharing it with her mother. I hear that my wife and daughter are dating. Well, if you can call all the black men stopping by every night and leaving $20 as a date, then I guess they are dating pretty heavily. I'm having a great time in southern Florida. The weather is fantastic, there are lots of bikinis around, and I've got a great job working with the king of brew,